WWT presents Partner Spotlight.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Partner Spotlight with WWT. My name is Mike Brabeck. I'm the Director of Global Partner Alliances for Data Center and Cloud. Thrilled to be joined today by Grant Thornton, who leads HPE's storage and data services practice in the Southeast, and Young Kim, who's one of our technical solutions architects here. I think, as many of you know, we've seen a rush of workloads into the cloud, and it's adding a lot of complexity for our IT leaders. They're trying to figure out, is it secure? Is it scalable? Is it eliminating data center silos? Is it reducing cost and complexity that they hoped it would? Today, we're going to be talking to HPE GreenLake, or about HPE GreenLake Block and File on Alletra MP, and how it's helping our customers, solve their unique problems with inside of the cloud. And with that, I figured we'd start off with George specifically to set the stage on what he's seeing in the marketplace and how we're uniquely positioning our partnership to help some of our partners solve their cloud issues and helping them scale. So with that, George, if we could start right there. Why don't you dive in and let us know what you're seeing and expand upon the subject of cloud and the complexity.
Yeah, great question, Mike, and I appreciate the time. So, really what we're seeing in the market today is, 5 years ago, there was a lot of rush in the industry and a lot of conversations around companies going to the cloud, right? And, at that time, we were asking our customers a few questions. One of them was, what's your cloud journey look like? What does digital transformation mean to you? And they had some varying answers, but for the most part, what we were receiving back was roughly anywhere from 70% to 100% of those customers were thinking about moving in 90% or northwards of 90% of their data to a public cloud play. And so it's kind of interesting because we kind of took a step back and as a customer facing entity and working with partners like WWT, we obviously want to do what's right for the customer and what they're asking us to do. And we saw some inherent problems there. And, if you fast forward, now that cloud has become a mainstay for probably 20 or 30% of workloads, and things like cost and performance are becoming very apparent to the end user and to our customers, they've kind of taken a step back and kind of taken a 180 on that stance for moving all data sets to the public cloud. And so, if you will, a reversal of sorts of thinking around cloud strategies, cloud adoption. And so customers are now telling us that only about 30% of their data will actually reside in the public cloud. And they're usually around workloads that are easy to move there or have already been moved there. And so 70% of data now has to be dealt with either on-prem and co-locations, some form of private cloud. And then obviously we've got edge data to deal with. And so from that perspective, the market's kind of taken a flip and changed itself over the last, 3 to 5 years. And so from that perspective, HPE for the longest time has thought of itself as a hybrid cloud provider. And we know the world is going to be hybrid and probably remain hybrid for the next, 10, 20 years. That's a guess, obviously, but from the perspective of data adoption, data gravity, we don't think that's probably going to change anytime soon. And so if we look at what GreenLake actually means, the simple answer is that we are the first hybrid hyperscaler in the market. Data is growing exponentially. That's not going to change. And the need to interact with that data wherever it resides or on whatever platform or whatever protocol that it needs to use. This is what the GreenLake Cloud Platform, or GLCP, really starts to mean and resonate with our customers. And so if you take GLCP, right, it is the world's first hybrid cloud control plane. And as part of that hybrid control plane, we've introduced something called DSEC within that control plane. And think of that as like the storage component of this hybrid cloud architecture. And if you think about that control plane, this is just a way that we're going to control, interact with all data sets, applications, wherever they may sit in their data lifecycle, from production mission critical workloads to secondary workloads to Bura, as well as large unstructured data landing sites, just to name a few, right? So when we look at the ability to manage public versus private cloud data sets, edge data landing sites, file, block, and object workloads from a single pane of glass. This is really kind of what GreenLake means. And so, we're also changing the definition of GreenLake within HPE. So if you think about what we previously talked about HPE GreenLake, it was always around a consumption model and as a service model, kind of pay as you grow, pay as you go. And it's now becoming a brand, especially within our storage portfolio. So it's going to encompass our entire storage platform. Think about HP like you would think about Amazon is to AWS, or Microsoft is to Azure, or Google is to Anthos, right? Except with a lot more flexibility and the ability to talk and move data between those public cloud offerings. On the storage side of the business, everything will be called HP for GreenLake for block, file, disaster recovery, backend recovery. So think about our offerings will now be GreenLake for block, right? GreenLake for file, GreenLake for disaster recovery, and so on and so forth. So you'll be able to purchase all these solutions not only from an OpEx or a CapEx solution, or not only from an OpEx solution, but a CapEx as well. So gone are the days of a consumption-only model or pay-as-you-grow. And I'll leave you with this thought. Imagine managing primary, secondary, private, public cloud, edge data sets, and applications from a single master control plane. Imagine being able to get consumption, performance, and application-specific analytics from a single dashboard, and finally managing file, block, or object storage from one UI. This is ultimately what HPE GreenLake is bringing to the market, and what we're really excited about here.
Yeah, George, those are really good points, and thanks for chiming in on your perspective uniquely as it relates to HPE and GreenLake. Young, maybe a question for you. I mean, taking what George said and knowing what we're seeing day to day in terms of our customers facing pricing challenges, complexity challenges, staffing challenges across the board, how are you looking at HPE GreenLake as it compares to maybe public cloud or on-prem? And if you could just provide some of your experiences in terms of working with customers through their cloud journey.
Sure, Mike. Following the rush to the public cloud, organizations that may have overshot, they're making adjustments to that move, especially with the cost at the top of their mind. They're taking a step back and trying to optimize the solution for their requirements. The majority of our customers are realizing that the hybrid cloud is the way to go. We are working with them to determine the optimal place where the workload belongs. Consider some workloads. They won't work in the public cloud because of the compliance and security requirements. And other workloads are very expensive in the public cloud. They may need flexibility with the right level of security, or they may be looking for opportunity across the edges, co-location facilities, and data centers. Since HPE GreenLake allows you to easily manage and harness the data across the edge to the cloud, it's possible to derive the better insight from their data and to achieve real-time innovation. Our customers are also looking for the predictable cost. They need visibility and clarity to current usage, and perhaps more importantly, they're be able to accurately forecast future usage. They also want to do this easily. By leveraging the AI ML capacity planning capability of the HPE GreenLake, they can help with that. Not only with the workload on the HPE GreenLake, but also with the workload in the public clouds. HPE GreenLake was designed for companies that want a cloud consumption model, but can't or aren't ready or are not interested in going to public cloud. Instead, they would prefer to that the same financial model in their data center. They also want they want modernization, and that's what HPE GreenLake can provide. Lastly, it's important to remember that HPE GreenLake, you are not locked into a public cloud.
Got it. That's really good context. Appreciate you both chiming in there. What I think is really important for our viewers is to understand some specific success stories that we've had on both sides. If I look at the numbers in our HPE GreenLake business together in our partnership, I know it's greatly growing, and I think we've seen some success together. So maybe start with George here. Are there any particular customer success stories that you can think of that you'd want to highlight? Maybe give some examples of how we're mutually helping our customers solve the complexity of the cloud.
So I don't have any specific customers that I can name by name, but the adoption of GreenLake from an HPE perspective has grown probably in the double digits and triple digits for the last, I don't know, probably 8 to 12 quarters. So we're seeing a tremendous amount of interest in this approach. And I think it all stems from some of our larger customers realizing after they kind of jumped into public cloud with both feet, and seeing some of the ramifications around price and performance and the transition of data. We've got a lot of large customers, especially down here in Texas where I'm at locally, that need to land large sets of unstructured data on, let's just call it cheap and deep storage. And from that perspective, then move that into a tier one platform and then process it and then move it back into the landing zone. From that perspective, public cloud, I think at first was seen as kind of like this was the primary workload that was going to be available for these larger customers to land these large unstructured data sets. And they're finding it, cost ineffective. And then from a migration perspective and moving that data, they're also finding it very, very hard. And from a bandwidth perspective, cost prohibitive to do this action where they're landing tons of data, processing data, moving it back and forth, and interacting with that data. And so with GreenLake, we kind of give them the best of both worlds, right? You can land data on cheap and deep storage with a consumption model, and then you can move that data onto a primary storage array. The migration paths are already there because the storage arrays are all under our control within the private cloud. And it has this hybrid control plane called GLCP that can facilitate the movement of that data. One of the main reasons that we bought Zerto about 18 months ago was they're the best data mover on the planet. And so a lot of people are like, oh, you bought a nice backup recovery client, or you bought a ransomware, rollback software. Really, we bought them because they move data really, really well. And so again, we're seeing customers in the oil and gas industry, customers in the Medicare industry, FSI, really take advantage of GreenLake in just around the sole purpose of being able to move data, migrate data, interact with that data, and not get penalized for keeping data that is very, very valuable to them for long periods of time, and then having an easy way to, like I said, process and interact with that data.
So George, I know coming out of the pandemic, a lot of our clients were really racing around trying to figure out how to, once again, handle complexity, costs that they were incurring as it related to their applications and trying to figure out where to put them. It'd be great if you could just take a couple minutes to go across the GreenLake portfolio as a whole. Let us know what HPE is doing specifically around that portfolio, and just educate our customers a little bit more on what we're offering together.
Yeah, it's a great question, Mike. And, obviously the pandemic being a time that we all want to forget, but from HPE's perspective on the GreenLake portfolio, and more specifically the storage portfolio, we made some pretty groundbreaking announcements on April 4th. And so I'll spend a little bit of time just going through those real quick. So we just released a new Alletra line called Alletra MP. And what the MP stands for is multi-platform, multi-purpose. And this is going to be the basis of everything storage kind of moving forward. Now, I want to be clear here that we're not going to discontinue current storage portfolio in favor of this portfolio. They're going to run in tandem for quite some time. But this really kind of goes back to the entire GreenLake hybrid control plane that we talked about earlier, in that we really want one hardware platform to kind of rule them all. And so if you think about the Alletra MP, it's going to be a singular hardware storage platform that can be utilized for things like file, block, or object. And we'll call those personalities that we apply to them. So this is kind of a true software-defined storage platform. We are disaggregating it so that you can consume performance as compute aside from buying capacity to get performance like you would with like a traditional storage array. So I can grow from a capacity standpoint without affecting performance. I can grow from a performance standpoint without affecting capacity. And this is different than what we've seen in the past. And then, of course, all this is it can be consumed as a service. It can be consumed as CapEx. It can be consumed at the edge. It really depends on what the need is from the customer. And so taking that a step further, we are still making available the 100% uptime guarantee. And the way that we're doing this is we've truly changed the architecture of the storage platform. Used to, it was very complicated. We required, node pairs. We could only lose one controller at a time. And now we've moved to kind of a more everything is connected platform within the storage portfolio, meaning that all controllers have access to all disks. If I have a 4-controller system, I can lose up to 3 instead of just a singular controller. So from this perspective, this makes the 100% uptime availability guarantee that much easier to maintain over time. This also brings into play, a lot simpler upgrades, one-click upgrades, policy-based upgrades that can be, run from a singular cloud UI. Again, going back to the whole GLCP and the idea around that. And then, of course, when we look at 2 personalities that we brought specifically to the market on April 4th, one being GreenLake for block and 2 being GreenLake for file. GreenLake for object will come about 6 months later, probably the first of the year in 24. But, I want to talk about real quick about block and file separately, in that it is the same universal hardware for both. I'm just applying a software personality. On the block side, we'll have 2 architectures though. We'll have a switched and a switchless. And this is just to facilitate, our SMB and mid-range customers versus our larger enterprise and industry-based customers. It's an all NVMe play day one. It's fully managed and implemented and maintained by GLCP and the DSCC. We can tie this into our backup recovery as a service. We can tie this into Zerto, which we mentioned before, which will now be rebranded to GreenLake for disaster recovery. And now I can just consume these services with, swipe of a credit card or a checkbox, and then apply them to a primary, secondary, or tertiary workload at will. And then furthermore, I can apply that to, which is really exciting, block, file, object, right? Even dumb storage from that perspective. And then when we think about just controlling data sets and migrating data from, dumb storage to very intelligent, very performant storage with analytics behind it, this becomes a lot easier than anything the public cloud can provide today. So from that perspective, that's a little bit about the block side. The file side, a little different here. It's mainly for performant file. We're gonna start at about 200 terabytes plus. We're gonna do a lot of write eliminations from a technology perspective so that we can minimize the number of writes that actually hit flash. This is especially exciting for us because HPE has never qualified a QLC drive. And so in order to drive down the cost of flash, we needed to apply some new technology to the platforms to eliminate a lot of the front end writes that will hit these systems. So we do a lot of log structure staging. We do a lot of write caching that will inevitably do a lot of the pre processes like things like compression, deduplication, encryption. We can take a lot of the unsequential data and make it sequential before we apply it down to the disks. And then of course, this also allows us to consolidate platforms. I think I mentioned earlier that a lot of our larger customers are looking to land data on cheaper flash media, but they also want to process that data in the same place. They don't want to move it. And so we think this new platform and these new personalities will provide our customers the ability to land large amounts of data on this platform and then process that data in the same place and not have to migrate it or move it around to different cloud locations, edge locations, and the like. The other thing that we are applying here is a couple new technologies that it's going to allow us to hit some really low overheads. So at scale, like our file play, we'll be able to hit about a 3% overhead, which is unheard of. The other thing that we're bringing into play is a new data reduction technology called Similarity. This is file-based deduplication. So as most of us know in the storage world, that deduplication is always at the block level. With Similarity, we'll be able to take individual files and crack those files open and look for similarities within the files and then choose not to write those same blocks within a file set. So a real quick example of that would be if I'm looking at a security feed and the background of that security feed is 95% unchanging, then why do I continue to write that background even if I have motion in the video? And so from that perspective, on video data feeds, we've always thought that data reduction was non-existent there. But with our new platform here, we might get 2 to 3x of data reduction on a video feed, which is, again, unheard of. So from that perspective, we're really excited about Alletra MP being the universal storage hardware platform. And then, of course, applying GreenLake personalities to that platform, like file, block, object, backup and recovery, disaster recovery, and so on and so forth. So really excited about that.
It's all really good information, George. I mean, between Alletra MP and everything in the GreenLake portfolio, everything I'm hearing from you is you guys are helping to really reduce complexity for our customers. At the same time, help them out with their on-demand capacity needs and compute needs, and just makes for a really easy environment for our customers to remain nimble, which I think is great. On that note, Young, I know we've got GreenLake, within inside of the ATC, anything that you want to expand upon in terms of, what we're showcasing to customers, how we're helping them get a preview into reduction of complexity by using HPE GreenLake.
Yeah, sure, Mike. So, ATC, it's the ease of playing in the sandbox, right? ATC has on-demand labs that customers can have instant access to, including the labs for HPE GreenLake Central, HPE Alletra, and DSCC. ATC also supports custom POCs, which allow our customers to easily innovate and to try things out in a safe environment. They can integrate third-party hardware, software solutions, and also integrate with the public clouds. The value of our solution being in the ATC is the ATC. Working together on a proof of concept with gears that actually resides in the ATC, bringing great value and trust to the customer. Lastly, we are eating our own dog food, so to speak. We brought in HPE Alletra 9080 in the ATC using HPE GreenLake, and in process of also bringing in the Alletra MP system, knowing that what the cost of the system will be for us.
No, that's great. So I think what you hit on there, Young, is number one, we've been playing with this technology for a long time with inside of the ATC. So have a lot of folks internally at WWT, along with our friends at HPE, that can really help us showcase the technology. And if you take a look at the ATC and all the HPE gear that we have there, we could really show the interoperability between all the different technologies, which I think saves our customers a lot of time in terms of maybe having to stand up their own labs or bring in a bunch of different demo gears. So we can help reduce that time to value for them by doing all the heavy lift for them in terms of their test environment. George and Young, from my perspective, I think the future is exciting for WWT and our partnership with HPE around GreenLake. Would really love just to hear your perspective on what you think the future holds, maybe what our customers should expect, and frankly, any unique value you see in our particular partnership as it relates to us serving our clients together.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I think WWT is a unique partner for us, especially around the engineering expertise you guys bring to the field. The ATC is a unique environment that not all partners actually have access to or can actually stand up. One, from an expertise perspective and a cost perspective. And so, to be able to bring customers to a partner like WWT and actually see GreenLake in action, and then have expertise not only from HPE's perspective, but also the partner side of the house, that brings tremendous value to us, HPE, and of course our customers, because again, if it's one person saying something is true, that can have meaning, but if it's two people from two different companies saying the same thing, that has more meaning. And so, from a future perspective, what I see with our partnership growing, specifically around GreenLake, is the ability, and this is a roadmap item, obviously, but the ability to take a GreenLake platform, as powerful and as all-encompassing as it is, and then front end that with WWT's obvious engineering expertise in the field and the front end, then all of a sudden you have a really, really powerful combination. Our customers can depend on very fast turnaround from an engineering perspective on WWT side. They can depend on the breadth of what GreenLake brings to the market not only from a storage perspective, but a services perspective. And then, of course, just the mobility that this provides data from public cloud to private cloud to edge, even a co-location. The power is immense. And I think our customers will see that. And again, this only becomes a reality when we have strong and willing partners like WWT in our corner. And so from that perspective, I only see great things, and the future is very, very bright.
Yeah, George, really appreciate all the compliments toward the partnership. I couldn't echo those enough in terms of our appreciation of HPE, frankly, investing in the ATC so we can do all these fantastic things together to really help out our customers with their application needs as it relates to the cloud. So, Young, I didn't know if there was something specifically you would like to touch on in terms of the partnership, the ATC, the future, maybe what you and the team are working on, but please go ahead and dive in.
I think I mentioned that, we're looking to bring in other stuff, right? Obviously, ATC being such a huge ecosystem, we need that integration with all the different partners. And I think, having HPE and using our technology expertise and customer expertise, we can really come up with a solution that's unique to our customer needs.
No, that's great. Really appreciate it. Guys, I know you are both extremely busy. So George and Young, on behalf of WWT, thanks very much for your time today. I know our customers are going to find the content extremely valuable. I'm sure they're going to want to dig into more. So for your customers that are out there, WWT.com, our platform is a fantastic place to see all the collaboration in real time that we're doing with HPE and GreenLake. So please feel free to stop by and visit there. If you have any questions for myself, for Young, for George, you can find our content there on the platform or reach out. Until then, see you next time. Appreciate you joining us.